Enter the world of biblical humanities, where an enriching symphony for the mind, heart, and soul plays at the crossroads of the Bible and the humanities. Hello, I'm Jessie Lee from Hubal Center, South Korea. It's a pleasure to reconnect with all of you. Today, we're delving into the poignant lament and repentance of a woman in Great Expectations, by Charles Dickens. As we scrutinize the protagonist's struggles, Magwitch plays a crucial role, bestowing upon him a huge legacy. However, there's a twist. Another character, Miss Havisham of Satis House, disguises herself as the benefactor of this legacy. She was instrumental in altering the course of Pip's life, originally destined for a career as a blacksmith. On her wedding day, she finds herself abandoned by the groom, leaving behind only a letter. Miss Havisham, the jilted bride, grapples with wild resentment, spurned affection, and wounded pride, living thereafter as a woman who has never seen the sun. In an unexpected turn, Miss Havisham, while raising Estella as her stepdaughter, singles out Pip, an orphan, arranging regular visits. During these encounters, she finds joy watching Estella play cards. Miss Havisham encourages Pip to take an interest in and love Estella. However, Pip, still developing his sense of self, not only belittles himself due to Estella's dismissive attitude, but also suffers from an inability to express love in his humble position. Despite Pip's predicament, Miss Havisham persistently implores him, saying, "Love her, love her, love her. If she favors you, love her. If she wounds you, love her. If she tears your heart to pieces and as it gets older and stronger it will tear deeper, love her, love her, love her." When Miss Havisham portrayed herself as the source of Pip's inheritance, it naturally led him to believe that he and Estella were destined to be a couple. This misconception subjected Pip to prolonged mental anguish as he pursued futile endeavors fueled by false hope. The impact of this misunderstanding extended to his relationship with Estella. Under the assumption that Miss Havisham orchestrated their union, Pip hesitated to confess his love, perceiving Estella as unable to make independent decisions. However, when Pip finally mustered the courage to express his feelings, Estella responded with cold indifference. She not only brushed off Pip's words, deeming them ineffective on her heart, but also displayed a complete lack of interest in him. Concurrently, she mentioned her intention to marry Drumley, whom Pip harshly characterizes as a mean brute, and simply, a brute. Pip contends that Miss Havisham orchestrates Estella's marriage to Drumley, with the intention of causing maximum humiliation and contempt to the men she holds affection for. When confronted, Estella rebuffs Pip for tactlessly invoking her mother's name and insists it was her own choice. Unperturbed, Pip proceeds to declare his love for Estella, describing her as an integral part of his existence. Intertwined with every book he has read and every landscape he has encountered since their initial meeting. He confesses that she has embodied every graceful fancy that my mind has ever become acquainted with, before bidding her farewell. In this poignant moment, Estella looks at Pip with incredulity, but it's Havisham's unique appearance that etches a lasting impression on Pip's memory. Miss Havisham transforms into the spectral figure of Miss Havisham. Her hand still covering her heart, seemed all resolved into a ghastly stare of pity and remorse. The haunting, ghastly stare of pity and remorse, left in Pip's memory, eventually led to a surprising moment of repentance for Miss Havisham. Later, she called upon Pip, handing him a notebook and requesting to write, "I forgive her," beneath her own name. In Pip's presence, she knelt down, repeatedly lamenting, "What have I done?" while wringing her hands, disheveling her white hair, and finally resting her head on Pip's hand, tears streaming down her face. It was a scene entirely unfamiliar to Pip. "Until you spoke to her the other day, and until I saw in you a looking glass that showed me what I once felt myself, I did not know what I had done. What have I done? What have I done?" Pip's confession of love for Estella eventually stirred Miss Havisham from her profound sorrow and hatred. Within Pip's heartfelt declaration of love, she found a mirror reflecting her former self, once devoted to pure love. Realizing her true nature had been corrupted. However, Pip takes a step further, expressing that while he can accept being driven out of her mind, it's a different story for Estella. Instead of dwelling on the past for 100 years, He challenges her to restore even a fragment of Estella's kind nature that she had taken away. Miss Havisham, in response, exhibits a newfound, earnest womanly compassion in her heart. "My dear, believe this: when she first came to me, I meant to save her from misery like my own. At first, I meant no more. However, as Estella grew more beautiful, she began to commit terrible deeds, admitting, I stole her heart away, and put ice in its place." Pip found himself deeply puzzled by the sudden display of repentance. It was undeniable that Miss Havisham, after adopting Estella as her stepdaughter, subjected her to cruel treatment as a means of seeking revenge for her own pain. However, it was also impossible to ignore that, over the passing years, her mind had become deeply troubled. Entangled in a state of, a perversion of ingenuity, preventing any natural healing. With a sense of sorrow, Pip cried out, quote, "Could I look upon her without compassion, seeing her punishment in the ruin she was, in her profound unfitness for this earth on which she was placed, in the vanity of sorrow, which had become a master mania, like the vanity of penitence, the vanity of remorse, the vanity of unworthiness, and other monstrous vanities that have been curses in this world?" Unquote. In essence, her soul was twisted and consumed by various delusions that proved to be curses in this world. Among these delusions, the master mania was nothing but the vanity of sorrow. This sorrow became an illness as it abandoned 1,000 natural and healing influences and became sick, as all minds do and must. And will that reverse the appointed order of their maker? The shattered wedding serves as a tremendous shock to those involved, especially when it unfolds with the bride and groom fully dressed, and guests waiting at the altar. Miss Havisham's case is a terrible thing, evoking deep sympathy. However, it shouldn't escape our awareness that life holds occurrences far more devastating and despairing than such situations. Recalling the sinking of the Sewol ferry 2014, claiming 304 lives, and the deadly Itaewon crowd crush 2022, claiming 159 lives, leaves us speechless. Indeed, words cannot bring comfort to those experiencing such shocking and despairing sadness. This holds true for Miss Havisham and the victims' families of the Sewol ferry and Itaewon crowd crush. If even my own small sorrows are akin to that, their situation is beyond words. Nevertheless, I feel compelled to say this. In our lives, irrespective of our will, we are born into this world and depart from it. We may encounter unfortunate events due to our mistakes, natural disasters, or the faults of others, leading to various forms of grief. Living a life without any sadness is unimaginable. Sadness is not a variable but a constant. However, this is not the end. Countless natural ways exist to heal our sorrows, guided by a divine order from the Creator who governs our lives. Therefore, when we experience sadness, we must open our hearts to these natural paths of healing. As Hermann Hesse noted, even clouds and winds can provide healing for those burdened by sorrow. It was the swaying clouds and the cold wind on my cheek that finally healed me, deeply wounded by pain and sadness. Had Miss Havisham opened the curtains on her room window and stepped out into the field, she might have encountered those healing clouds and winds. Additionally, we must submit to the will of God, who guides our lives toward goodness and beautiful providence. Rejecting this path and dwelling only in sadness is a futile delusion. Even when fully experiencing sadness, we must not be ensnared by the master mania that leads our lives to ruin. Miss Havisham's case serves as a cautionary tale, clearly illustrating that remaining in that sadness will only result in transforming into ghost-like beings, spending our time in places infested with spiders, mice, and cockroaches. Now, let's listen to Pip's heartfelt confession, marking the day that forever altered the course of his life. Quote, "That was a memorable day to me, for it made great changes in me. But it is the same with any life. Imagine one selected day struck out of it, and think how different its course would have been. Pause, you who read this, and think for a moment of the long chain of iron or gold, of thorns or flowers, that would never have bound you, but for the formation of the first link on one memorable day." Unquote. Which day was this, reshaping Pip's life so significantly? It was the day of his initial visit to Miss Havisham's house. In the dwelling named Satis, meaning enough, Pip encountered Estella, cold and dismissive, and the peculiar Miss Havisham. Resembling a corpse in a room untouched by sunlight, clutching her torn bosom in a white dress. This day also saw Estella's harsh dismissal and humiliation of Pip, leading him to burst into tears, kick walls, and bang his head. Yet, it was the very day that set Pip on the trajectory of his life. Reflecting on this day, Pip sees it as the first link in a chain binding his existence. He assumes that everyone has such a day, differing only in whether the link is iron or gold, thorn or flower. This notion nods to the idea that something occurring on a specific day can influence our experiences over an extended period. For instance, the first time you put a cigarette in your mouth commits you to the pleasures and pains of smoking for decades. Or the day you signed up for an early morning swim class, leading to unexpected achievements like biking across the country or completing 10 marathons. So, if the first time you smoke is the initial link in a chain of iron or thorns, and the first time you swim is the start of a chain of gold or flowers, why not make today the first day of the rest of your life? The commencement of a chain of gold or flowers that will last a lifetime? Thank you for exploring the lament and repentance of a woman before the mirror and the transformative day revealed in Great Expectations. Until next time, stay curious.